we go.
Welcome to the first tutorial for the Fall Club from Renee's House of Quilting. As you know, we're using the book from It's So Emma called Witch's Night Out. And I would like to help you with the technique that is used quite often on these blocks, and it's a stitch and flip method. So I am going to show you some tricks that I have found helpful that make the blocks come out pretty perfect. I'm not perfect, but pretty perfect. And hopefully then make this more enjoyable for you. So the first thing is in this pattern, they want you to cut a 1 5/8 inch wide by 1.5. No, 2. Hello. 1 5/8 by 5.5. And that is for the chevron in the pumpkin. So we're all familiar with cutting 1 inch, probably 1 1/4, maybe 1.5, but it gets a little trickier than when you're moving over to 1/8. So and I'm not sure who this is made by. Do you know, Renee?
I don't remember.
Anyways, this has been around for quite a while. It comes, there's 3 rolls in a package. Comes this hot pink, comes green, and yellow, all very visible. It sticks on. You just cut a piece off, you stick it on, and when you're through, if you don't want it anymore, you just peel it off. So what I did was I laid this at 1 5/8 so that so that I can can you do it?
Yeah.
That's I make him seasick. So that we can come down and I can line that pink tape up, and I know that I'm at 1 5/8 and I can cut it. Okay? So then if I, take another piece, need to cut that, lay that at 1 5/8, and when I'm through with that measurement, this little guy peels off and you just throw it away and take another piece for the next time. So that helps you with cutting your strips. The next thing that I want to show you is, if you're not familiar with the stitch and flip method, I want to show you the difference between that and a half square triangle. A half square triangle block is square. So this is a little 1 1/2 inch half square triangle. You can see that it's square. There's several methods for making them. But when they invented this new technique to make these stitch and flip units, it's a little bit different than doing a half square triangle. So in this case, they want you to take a 1 1/2 inch square and a 1 1/2 by 2.5, I believe it is, rectangle. And then they tell you to mark on the wrong side of this square on the diagonal. So you're going to try to do that. Put this on here and make a mark, and you got this problem. Everybody's going every which way. So this helps. You take 100 grit sandpaper. You buy this at the hardware store or steal it out of your husband's toolbox. And then you take this little square, just a number tool, mechanical pencil works best. You're going to lay this on the diagonal from corner to corner. And now nobody's going anywhere. It's just going to wait for you to mark it. It doesn't pick up on one side. You can start in the corner and move down. So now you've got this nice line drawn, corner to corner. To get it off of here, just dump it. It's easier than trying to pick it off because it gives me the creeps when I grab that sandpaper. So now you have your square marked corner to corner. Then they tell you to take that and lay it on top of your rectangle. Now, this is what you want to pay attention to. There are different ways to sew this. You can sew this from the upper corner down, or you can sew it from the lower corner, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. You can sew from the left to the right, or you can sew from the right to the left, and it makes a difference. Because you want to end up with something that looks like this, for one, but something that looks like that for another. And can you see there's a difference? The way that those are. So this is what they're getting out of it. They want you to have one going that way and one going that way. And when you put them together, you make a V. If you sewed both of them the same way, all you're going to get is a bunch of dashes. The other thing that you want to pay attention to, and I like this book for it, is they tell you which way to press that seam. So once you have your piece sewn and then you go to press it, pay attention to that arrow, which way it goes. Because if you press it wrong and you trim it and you go back and you think, oh no, big deal, I'll just press it the other way, it screws it up. Believe me. Been there, done that, it screws it up. And the reason that they want you to press those different ways is so that when you put these pieces together, those little seam allowances will intersect. So you can put one on top of the other and they'll, what do you call that? Butt together?
Nestle.
Nestle.
But
I like nestle. They'll nestle, and when you stitch it, it'll come out perfect. So now you've got this little guy on here, and you're looking at your directions, and it says that you want to sew it this way. It says here that you want to start at the upper left and go down to the right. So I am very visual, and it seems like the older I get, in a little chemotherapy here and there, I sometimes have to do this because I can screw it up if I don't. So don't feel bad, you just go like that. When you sew this, you have a choice. You can pin it, and if you're going to pin it, I would pin it away from where you want to sew. And when you look at this, you want to make sure that that square lines up with the edge of your block that you're sewing it to all the way around. Don't just say, oh yeah, it's good here and it's going to be off here. You want to make sure that it's square. Then you go to the sewing machine. Because you're going to start off on an angle in a very little piece of fabric, use a leader. Which, if you're not sure what a leader is, it's a thing that just helps you pull your fabric through. If I had a foot pedal, I'd be helpful here. There's the foot pedal. Okay, so you're just going to leave that down. I happen to have this lovely knee lift. Now, I don't know if Renee can get right in here, but I want you to see. Let me show you with here. Here's my line that I drew. I am just to the right of that line. And the reason I'm not to the left of that line is because this is going to be flipped up this way, not this flipped down that way. So this basically will be my seam allowance right here. So I'm going to start just to the right of that line, and they call that allowing for the turn of the cloth. So you're just going to start and you're going to let the machine do the work. Usually I take this guy out of the way and just keep going. Okay. Now you want to cut that leader off. You don't want that guy around anymore. Now, I'm going to look at my book again because it wants me to press this up. So you have a choice. You can press this up or you could have pressed this down. It's telling you to go like this. So then you want to take this, and usually what I do is I give it the good old finger press first. Okay? And I check it. Am I off? And the way that you can check it is look at it from the back. Do I have a lot of stuff hanging over? Do I have too much of the white and not enough of the orange? So you want to make sure before you do anything, before you cut it, that you've sewn it correctly, and then you're going to give it a press, just up and down. And if you don't have a wool mat, get one. They're lovely. Then you're going to take your rotary cutter and your ruler, or you can use scissors if you're brave, and you're just going to trim this seam allowance, 1/4 of an inch. And do not save these. It's just not right. So now you have this piece here. Okay. Then it wants you to take another one of those 1.5 inch squares and put it in the bottom, and you're going to actually sew it the same way that you sewed the top one. You're going to start on the left and sew to the right. And when you do that, you're going to have, is it this one? Yes. Lucky girl. You're going to have this. So you're going to end up with this. And then it tells you how many of those to make. If you are not making the entire quilt, when you begin on this, it tells you that you need to make 4 of these. So if you're making the quilt, you would make 4 of these blocks. If you're not making the quilt, if you're just doing that table runner, or you just want 1, don't cut out as many pieces as they tell you. So here it'll tell you to cut 16 squares. Well, if you're only going to do 1, you divide 4 into 16 and you only cut 4 squares. Does that make sense? So you divide it by whatever number you're making. In this case, I was making 1. So it said to make 4, so I took 4 into 16, which made 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. So you do that all the way down. When you come over here, make sure that you do the same thing, because it tells you to make 12. You don't need 12. You need 3, because you're going to divide it by 4. So 4 goes into 12 3 times. The reason that I have these left over is because I didn't pay attention. So this is a mistake that you don't make now, see, because I helped you out. Okay. I think as far as me helping you with those tips, that's it. If you have questions, you know you're supposed to get a hold of myself or Renee. And this is so exciting. We weren't sure that this was going to come in. And if I could figure out how to hijack Renee's car, I'd probably keep this. But this is the from Moda, and it's called All Hallows Eve. Moda doesn't very often reprint fabrics, but they did this time. This is the second one that I know of. They reprinted Paris Flea Market, if any of you were quilting back then. So this beautiful, beautiful fabric. I just love the colors. So there's grays, and there's this real pretty orange, and then Renee and I are especially fond of this one with the black. And then there's just blacks, and there's creams. She also has the, thank you, the 5-inch squares. What Moda does is they send you, these are called pre-cuts. They send you those first. And then in a couple of weeks, she'll get yardage of this. So if you want to stop in.
And they can apply their fall discount to that
ooh.
also.
So you can, since one of the benefits is you can use your discount card. So you can get 15% off of this. So that's significant. So we appreciate you. The enthusiasm is great. We've got over 20 people signed up. So that made our hearts happy. And we look forward to doing more of these. The other thing is, we were going to do this little jar. So this is the jar. And you can do any jar. I will help you. I will show you how to figure it out to make this little jacket for it. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to do a towel with quick and easy prairie points. You make them all at once. You don't have to do them individually. And there'll be 2 fabrics. We're going to do a 2 fabric prairie point on here. And I think I'm going to put the cauldron on there because I really like that block. Then this is going to be a pillow, a button pillow on the sides. And we're going to put a pumpkin on that. So the 4 things that you have are obviously the table runner, and those patterns are available tomorrow at Renee's. You'll have a pattern for this cool jar, you'll have a pattern for the towel, and then another pattern for the pillow. So we're looking forward to it. We're excited about it. We're having fun, and so we appreciate all of you, and see you soon.